So it's actually a good initiative, and I'm really glad that all the alumni have come forward like this to share their experiences with the students. With that, I pass on the baton to you, and I also want to know what you have done ever since you graduated. Let's do. Okay.
Sure, so thanks for the introduction. So what I'll do is that the focus of my talk is DP nostalgia. So most of my material would be covering that. I have, of course, some examples of what I have done after MDes, a lot of it. But before that, what I wanted you guys to do is to have a ice breaking session, and anybody can participate. My focus was more like I want to know that the people who are in this call. So I'm just calling it an icebreaker session. And if you guys have your smartphones, you can just type in menti.com, and you'll get a code. And in it'll ask for your code. You can enter this code, and in maybe 10 seconds, it's just a small kind of a quiz. I won't say quiz, but yeah, it's more like a about knowing each other. So MJ, are you able to see this menti.com? Are you able to log into the code, use the code?
Yeah, I already logged in. So it's telling
Okay.
that let's start this talk with something interesting. This is the first
Perfect.
thing.
Perfect. So you can have a look at your screens, and it will ask you a question there, and then you can use your smartphone to kind of give your answers. So should we begin?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go for it, guys. So this is okay. I can see people joining here, and okay. So let's go for the first question. So first, let's understand what background are we coming from, and background by I mean that your previous masters or bachelors that you've done. So you can start giving your answers, and it will start reflecting how our sample size is. Like we can see the graph is changing. So we have more mechanical engineering students, 50, fashion design 17%, others 14, and it's changing. So yeah, we still have
category.
Sorry?
I fall in the other category.
Yeah, I think we have already have 14 responses. People are still responding, but here we see that what is the demographic, how we are placed. I see that mechanical engineering in our time also there were a lot of mechanical engineers, but we were like mostly architects, people coming for fashion design, and also computer science and so forth. Why I'm asking this question, it's I'll just mention it when we are coming on the real presentation. But maybe if everybody has answered, let's go to the second and the last question before we start the session. So this is an interesting question. So it is asking you, describe your feeling of studying in design program in one word. So don't use a sentence, maybe in one word, how would you feel? Like what is your immediate feeling? I mean, I know for me, it's okay. I won't bias you, but yeah, there is some word for me. So, but you guys can start posting your word, and you can see it on the screen. Innovation, nice, happy, explorative, home, fun. I think the biggest size is innovation. So more people are focusing on innovation. Rampant disease. Oh. Yeah. Curious, interesting. Unlearning. Oh, that's one of the keywords I'm going to use in my session. Latest technology, good. Knowing about the latest technology, as Tatiki sir said, about what's going on in the market. But yeah, here we see that the biggest word is innovation. So I think most of us are kind of interested, or maybe the word that is going on top of our mind is innovation. And of course, innovation is important. That's why we are in this program. We do innovative things. Of course, we want to understand technology. We want to be creative, happy. Somebody wrote home as well, and we want to be explorative. We want to unlearn stuff. You are a newcomer, so you want to kind of understand how it works. Probably I'm happy that most of these keywords we'll talk about in a presentation. But yeah, so if I think everybody has answered, or most of you have answered, there are still answers popping up. Bati, Des, I understand design. But I just wanted to get a flavor of what is going on in your mind before we start with the presentation. So yeah, thanks for your answers. What I'll do is I'll take a screenshot and maybe I can share it with you later, guys, that what was your output over here. So let's get into the session. And please feel free to stop me at any point of time if you have any questions, or if I'm not making sense, just let me know. And let's get into the session. So my topic is design nostalgia, the DP design program nostalgia. And I'll introduce myself. I'm Nishant Rai. My current role is I'm the experience design lead in Ericsson headquarters in Stockholm. And on the left side, you'll see my picture. And on the top, you'll see, I think the first year students, you've not been to the design program. This is what we used to call the new DP. It was the helicopter building. And one of our very talented colleagues and a very good friend of mine, Prasoon, he was a very good painter. So he painted all these Elviras, as you see, with the superheroes. And if you see these small, I would say, the stools behind, that was like the brand of DP. Like we were known in the IIT by the cool department and so forth. So just wanted to use that as a picture. But let's get down to a little bit about me, the boring stuff. So for me, the creative journey began back in 1985 when I was born in a family of artists and architects. And at that time, it was quite clear that I will take up a creative profession. And then up till 2004 were my schooling years. Two major places I did my schooling. One was in Shimla, and then my parents moved to Bhopal. So 2 years I studied in Bhopal. And then I did my bachelor's of architecture. I managed to crack AIEEE. I went into NIT Hamirpur, did my architecture. Then there was a time of limbo. Like, of course, my family is, they were artists, they were architects, but I somehow did my bachelor's of architecture, but I was not interested in it. I wanted something exciting. So I took a break of 1 year with the intent of preparing for seed and gate. And at the same time, I thought that being in the academia would be the best place for me to help me kind of, study for the gate exam as well. So that's where I taught in one of the colleges of Punjab University, that was in Ropar, and then managed to crack seed and eventually got into MDes, IIT Kanpur. And then from 2010 to 2013, it is unlike the others where the others completed the program in 2 years. For me, it was difficult to complete in 2 years. I did it in 3 years. I'll touch upon it as well, the reasons for it. But then after that, after graduating from 2014, 2013, my career started. I got placed in TCS and then joined Ericsson soon after. So that was my first leap in career. And then finally, the career 2.0 in 2018 when I got an opportunity to move to Sweden. So this is how my career looked, or my timeline looked. And we would be today focusing on these three aspects. A new start, that was MDes. The unlearning, I think one of you mentioned in the quiz as well, unlearning. So we'll cover why career 1.0 is unlearning and career 2.0 was relearning. So let's get into the first part, which is MDes. And this MDes was a new start. The reason being, I'll just explain you in this slide. So Masters of Design for me comprised of a timeline. And this timeline started right from the beginning, even before I started my journey in IIT Kanpur. So it was basically to get my foundations clear, create a solid foundation and creative foundation and creative mindsets. And then this phase also included like preparation for seed, as I said, and getting into more like a product design of a mode. And then when I joined a design program, it was more like getting into the inception phase, where I wanted to start my own design journey, focus on the assignment designs and problems, That was the core in the first semester. And then something interesting happened. Like after the second semester, there was this opportunity I got to take up a DAAD scholarship and did my master's in Germany. I'll touch upon it down the line in the presentation. Then after that, there was this important phase, I think, which all of you will go through or have gone through, is thesis and portfolio. Because thesis should be impactful. We've been hearing a lot about it, and portfolio is like one of the pain points of all the designers, not only product or UX designers. Even ask me coming from architecture, it is a thing. It actually makes or breaks you. And finally, the thing that we will be like important for me was 2013, the placements. So what we'll do is we'll kind of touch base upon all these 5 parameters during the first phase. So let's get with the foundations. So for foundations, what I said, like when I was creating this slide, I kind of reflected that where I'm coming from, or what happened to me in 2009 and 2010. So as I said, like I wanted to have a very solid foundation. So I was coming, and I don't know like if you can relate to me or not, but I think you would. That there was a lot of self doubt in me. I thought, I'm coming from an architecture background. I would be working with the people who are coming from fashion design background and from mechanical engineering, as we saw in the graph. And the people who scared me the most were these computer science and IT guys, because I thought, these guys are gods with coding and stuff. And when we are given the assignments, I would not able to. I would just be sketching, and these guys would be making something on their laptops and showing cool stuff. So I think my suggestion to you here would be that just remove all your self doubt, because the whole idea of a design program is to have a very mixed kind of a competence. That's why we call it like an interdisciplinary program. The second thing I would suggest you, or actually that worked for me, was to bring my boost my confidence high, because carrying the IIT brand name in itself in a country is a big thing. And I started talking to myself. The self talk was, okay, I would end up definitely amongst the 1 or 2% of the top professionals in the country. So I want to be happy when I joined design program. The third thing was to opportunity to live my life the way I always wanted. And here I've highlighted routines. Why I'm highlighting routines here is people of architecture background, they would understand with or maybe synchronize with me, because in architecture we spend a lot of sleepless nights. Like I remember there were nights where there were like 2 night outs just to make those detailed sheets, make design presentations, getting the printouts and stuff. So I wanted, okay, now at least in my masters I want to sleep on time and get a good rest and relax. So it gave me an opportunity to start a new life. And then also my grandfather taught me this very important aspect, that go there with an open mind. Wherever you're going, whenever you're taking a next leap in your life, go with an open mind, go with an idea that there's not new things to learn. You can of course go there, be biased with your the things that you've learned in architecture or in school, or things that I have taught you and so forth. So it's very important that be acceptable. And then the final point here, I think I saw a presentation of Pragam. He touched upon it, embracing the randomness. So at that point of time, things were bothering me. With like, how will I end up? Will I be doing a PhD? Will I be getting a job? And I never thought in 2010, after 10 years, that I'll be working in a telecom giant, Ericsson. So bothering about these things at that point of time, it doesn't make sense. It's just a waste of time, energy, and resources. So be prepared for randomness. Tomorrow can be a different day. Day after tomorrow will be a completely different day. So that's like coming with these kind of 5 mindsets, I established my foundation. And then which led into the field when I talk about the inception phase, which is more like these are interesting things, because here I'm touching base upon all the activities that we did in the 2 semesters I was there before I moved to Germany. So you would hear keywords like USID, Gurukul, and PD6. And unfortunately, you guys are not on the campus, but this is the exciting phase, how it starts your MDes journey. You'll have this product development 6 workshop, USID Gurukul. Of course, you'll have MT. I'll show one picture here. So it's basically a tea stall very near to the, I think it's the faculty buildings, and the chai samosa are very famous there. Then, of course, we used to have a lot of late night bike rides, and there's an airstrip as well in IIT Kanpur. So we used to go there and just fool around. And then we had a lot of design workshops, assignment, grades, and attendance. That was important. And industrial trip, yeah, we had a very interesting industrial trip where we traveled, to the major cities and got in touch with many of our faculty, of our alumni, and understood that how the industry is working. We also did a lot of video making assignments, and thanks to Satyaki sir and all the other faculty members, I never thought that I'll be creating a video coming from an architecture background, but we learned that how to create a video, what are the thought processes behind it, how to edit a video, and so forth. Also, we participated in multiple competitions, like competitions within the design schools all over the country. So we had this Nokia Bhasha competition. It was like a app development or app conceptualization. So yeah, we have some pictures. I'll show you that as well down the line. And then also Radio 90.4. I think last week Praveen's presentation, we captured this. So it was our batch where Satyaki sir told that okay, we want to restart the radio, or I think start the radio, and a lot of our assignments were focusing on this. Like we had to create posters, we had to record the jingles, and we were like quite excited. It was like we never thought that ending up in IIT and working on these cool assignments was going to be a thing. And then finally, we had edX. edX is a short form for Annual Design Exposition. It's basically, whatever designs we are making or working on the projects that we are doing throughout the year. It's basically an exhibition of those designs, and people from all over the, I won't say the globe, but at least people from all over India who are design enthusiasts, they come and see the work that we are doing. So these were like a couple of keywords that, the first and second semester was focusing on. And what I would do now is I will take you to some of the pictures just to get more nostalgic with our batch. So you see here that this is one of the picture on that you see on the left side is the PD6 workshop, and this is a picture from Gurukul, and the picture in the bottom is like Vidisha. She used to do all this kind of, at that time it was Facebook stickers and all. So a picture from there. Then here you see we have Nokia Bhasha, and that's where we won. I think the team Minakshi, Rahul, and we won like I think the third prize. We had the industrial trip, and then if you see in the bottom and the middle, so that is the old design program, and we had this interesting kind of sculpture here. So that was everybody would recognize the people who were working in the Samtel building, and on the right side, if you see in the bottom, that is our first picture together as a batch. So this was, I think, one of the mechanical engineering labs where we were understanding how to make that casting of iron and so forth. And on the top, you'll see one picture, Vikas holding the ADEX logo. And then we have the USID Gurukul, Vidisha and Alka on the top middle. Also the industrial trips, and if you see, we have Madhavan here on the left side. He created something for the farmers. That was a machine. And then yeah, these are all the pictures. In the middle you see we have the one middle bottom is the one from one of the industrial trips. And yeah, so this is all. And also we have kind of the industrial trip when we started on Kanpur station. That was on the top left. That is one picture depicting that. Yeah, some more pictures about ADEX, about our visit at Computer Associates. The one you see on the top right side, that is with Mr. Raman Saxena. He was in CA that time, so he helped us kind of understand how design works there. The one in the bottom right you see, that is by Niral. I think he also showed it in his presentation. So when we visited him, I think it was Honeywell. Yeah. So that was one, and the bottom left one that you see, we visited Tata Elxsi. So Mr. Narendra Ghate, he was kind of showing us that how Tata Elxsi works, the product design lab there. And I think this is the final set, but yeah, this is when we convocated on the top. We had ADEX top right, where Reshma, Minakshi, Vikas are there. The bottom one is the farewell. I was not there because I was in Germany, but yeah, these were juniors who gave us the badge, the farewell. And on the bottom left side that you see, it's one of the classrooms of the helicopter building. So I think it is, I don't remember who the faculty was. So, but yeah, this is how the classrooms look like.
I think he's Prashant Kumar.
Oh, he's Prashant Kumar. Okay. Perfect. And then, yeah, this slide is interesting one because as I touched upon, we were assignments are focused more on creating this stuff around radio 90.4. So this is, I don't remember who created this poster, but we had, assignment of five posters each, and someone created this one. The top middle one is Bidisha's sketch of her batch. I mean, like, I won't get into details, but every person has his quality or her quality in this picture, and that's how she shared it. And in the bottom right, we have, like, one of the, again, the visiting faculty lectures. Like this is Mr. Narendra Ghate from Tata Elxsi. So he came to IIT and gave us a workshop, 3-day workshop. Yeah, and this is empty that I was talking about. This is how it looks like, and you should brace yourselves next year when you come back to the to IIT. Then you should definitely have chai samosas over here. And in the bottom, you'll see that the 8 o'clock lectures they used to happen in the winters. This is how we used to kind of chill with pakoras and chai. On the right side, a little bit on the middle, you'll see bottom. It was Prasoon and Paritosh and Akash. We went on a road trip, and on the top, you'll see Arvind and myself enjoying that chai. And on the rightmost side, you'll see Prasoon. That is like he had his, because he had a very good, because he's coming from fashion design, so he made a lot of portraits. So we have a tech fest called Antaragini, and there was a small stall given to him that you can showcase your work there. So my point here is that once you come to IIT and things are normal, you'll see that there are so many opportunities. Every next day, you'll have an opportunity to participate in some workshop, show your work that you have been doing, collaborate with others, make new contacts, and so forth. So sky is the limit once you are joining the MDes program. I think this is the final one. No, this is not the final one. I have one more after this. But the important this slide is important because this was one of the assignments. It was about designing the door handles. And here you see how the sketch starts on the top. This one, the top left side, you see we made the sketches. It was, of course, an individual assignment. Bottom, you'll see we have this. I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, MJ or Satyaki sir. This was the lathe machine lab. I don't know how do we call it. I'm sorry for that. But we had a lathe machine here where we kind of had that wooden stick or wooden block, and all of us. These are the assignments from all of us, all of the batch. Sorry.
This was the Fine Arts and Design Studio,
Yeah.
Where Professor Amit Ray used to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now I remember. So they had all these, lathe machines, and we have such good support of the people there. They help you with the assignments, not only the small assignment, but also with the thesis and so forth. Then this is a picture again from Hall 10, because most of us, the guys, we were residing in Hall 10. That was the newest one at that time. And as you see, we had the Diwali celebration. On the top, you see most of our batches. On the bottom left, you see Bhasha. It was Vivek, Rahul, and myself who were traveling to Bangalore. On the right bottom, you see one picture. It's the dancing picture. You can see Pragam, and we have Siddharth as well, Rahul and Madhavan. So that was the Diwali party we were enjoying. And in the middle top, you see that is how we used to work on assignments. So I think this is how your IIT room looks like. In Halton specifically, and we would again sometimes wake up at nights and make those assignments and so forth. But it was fun. You see, like it's middle of the night, but you don't see we guys kind of sleepy or something, excited to work. So this is how life in IIT looks like. Then again, I took some pictures of my thesis just to give you a gist of how the quantum of work that at least for me, I put a lot of work in thesis. There were these working models that I created. My guide was Professor Nachiketa Tiwari, and we created some kind of ancient Indian science things and so forth. Like, I'll not get into details, but these are some pictures that I get, like, of the working models and so forth. And then, because me coming from architecture background, I did a small sub project in the thesis of showcasing how the housing in the ancient India would look like. So these are some working models of that. So this is how the initial first two phases of first two semesters of MDes looked like. And then something interesting happened. So I got an opportunity, or I got a scholarship called DAAD scholarship. So this is given to 50 IIT students all across India by the government of Germany, so that there is an MOU between IITs and technical universities in Germany, that you can do 10 months of your thesis in Germany, and you will get your score for doing that thesis in that exchange program. And I went to TU Dresden in I think it was September of 2000. I think it was 2011, and then I went there. That was my first time traveling internationally, and it was for a long time. So yeah, it was a good it was a good international exposure, and in the scholarship, if you want to learn, I did that A2 level of German language. If you want to learn, that is also included. You get to make good contacts in German academia, because now I have a couple of professors whom I took courses there, to kind of whenever if I plan to go to Dresden again, I can meet them and so forth. And then also it is a good potential for you to get admissions in German universities for a PhD if you're aiming for one. And some tips that I marked here in terms of scholarships. There are a number of scholarships that different universities all across the globe offer for IIT master students. Some of them are this one, the one which I got, DAD Masters Sandwich Program, and the other one is Erasmus Mundus, and then there are a couple of them more. So just explore them at there is something called as a DOA office, Dean of Academic Affairs, and you'll get to know a lot about it. The requirement, the end date of applying it, and what documents you need, and so forth. So if you are interested, you can definitely get in touch with them.
Now this part is dealt by the Dean of International Relations Office. It's a new position which has been created. So it's primarily the Dean of International Relations Office has all these informations.
Okay.
The website also for that.
Okay. Yeah, at that time, sir, it was a DOA, but now, yeah, I think they've made, as you said, a dedicated organization for it, or a department for it. Perfect. So then what we would do is we'll move to the next subpart, which is thesis and portfolio. And I've just tried to gather my experience with the thesis and the portfolio. And as I say here, that thesis is one of the most important projects for anyone in doing any master's degree. So unfortunately for me, there are what I did was I can just take you through the different parameters according to me. How it works is that if we take at a Venn diagram, it is very important that passion is the first thing. That if you're not passionate about the topic, then you will not able to kind of put your heart and soul into your thesis. The second thing is impact. This is what I realized when I finished my thesis. What impact is it doing? Is it making someone's life different? Is it creating a good social impact? Is it really needed or not? Those kind of things, I think you need to kind of start thinking now what impact my thesis is going to create. Unfortunately for me, it didn't work, but then there's a third element as well. It's funding. Of course, we are getting scholarships. We have we can save some money. For me, it was good because I went to Germany. I saved some money from my scholarship, and when I came back, and that's using that money, I kind of created those prototypes or the working models that we created. But it's also important for you to kind of understand that if you want to make a full scale iOS application for your thesis topic, just understand these logistics. You need to pay iStore. You need to do so many things. You need to have a developer, or if you're a developer, you need to have a testing person who's going to do that. So once you have a good kind of understanding of these three parameters, then you decide your thesis topic. That is my suggestion to you. And once it comes to the portfolio, as you all know by now that it's a must for every designer. And for me, it was like any project that I do always should have a vision. And as I said, it should impact the portfolio. So as I showed you, there was this door handle thing. Directly you cannot see that in the portfolio, but even using a small sketch of it in my portfolio would make a lot of difference. So whenever you're doing any project, or you're taking any project, just remember that how or what component of it you're going to use it in the main version of your portfolio. And just try to have it handy both in PDF and as well as online format. For me, it was PDF at that point of time. And yeah, here are a couple of suggestions from an outside in perspective. Like the first thing is that don't include more than 5 projects in your portfolio if you're making it for the recruiters. The reason being that for a 20-minute, 30-minute, or even 45-minute interview, you won't be able to show more than 5 projects. 5 is still more. I think it should be 3. And make the whole portfolio that somebody is going to ask you a question that explain me any one project or any 2 projects in your portfolio. So just be a little bit mindful of that. The second suggestion from me would be that just carry a theme in your portfolio. It should look like a story. This whole world, at least the corporates now are working in more like a storytelling mode. You can have the best project in the world and you can put it on Behance and it has all that cool graphs and dashboards going on. But if it doesn't have a story, it's pointless. So my suggestion is that make a theme-based portfolio. Third one is documenting the design process. The recruiters or the companies, they are not interested in the end product. Of course, they are if they look fancy, but they are interested in how creative you are and what was your design process. For me, what worked out was uh, you know and people kind of don't are not happy about it. They say that what is your design process and so forth. For me, it changes every project to project. I mean, now I'm in a phase of my career where I have this like a 3-minute design process. And what do you mean by it? Like for me, it's like I've been watching a lot of Shark Tank and all these elevator pitches. For me, if I have a design idea and I cannot present in more than 3 minutes, then it's useless. So I make it a point that my end delivery is this 3-minute video or a 3-minute talk, and then all my everything else is kind of backtracked. So this works for me, but for you, design process could be completely different. So we have to, whenever we are kind of looking for jobs or maybe we are giving interviews, focus on the design process, not on the end, fine tuning the end mockups and so forth. Then the fourth thing I would like to say is just get rid of unnecessary stuff. I mean, like I was in this habit, adding login pages and unnecessary detailed persona with 300 or 400 words. Nobody has time to, look at those personas. Just say, okay, persona one does this, and this is gonna be his or her flow. Login pages not at all required. Like in anything that you're making, login page is the last thing that anybody would remember. So yeah, this is in this slide, I just try to cover that, how your thesis or your portfolio should look like. But then we'll go to the next part, which is the last part here is placements. So here what I've tried to do is capture the potential career paths for you guys or maybe for anybody after MDes. And how it works is that when you're heading towards the end of your Masters of Design program, you will have three fields in most of the cases that you will go forward for: a research based kind of a career, industry career, or an entrepreneurship career. So each of them has some of the segments. So let's start with the research. In research, I think PhD is one of the big thing. If you want to get into research, MDes, PhD, and so forth, then also you can go for an extended internship, like a 6 months Google internship or a Facebook internship or any kind of internship that you want to kind of sit down, reflect that what I want to do if you're not clear. And then the third one is doing a research assistantship. Again, it's like 1 year or 2 years of spending time in IIT itself or maybe some other research university, and just reflecting and then thinking of whether I want to go for a PhD or I want to end somewhere else. And then the second main stream is industry. In industry, you can of course end up like in a corporate job, or you can join a startup. Like if you want to kind of explore more things rather than design, if you are in corporate job, you are kind of focused on, okay, I'm gonna go do design, I'm not concerned about testing or how development works or whatever. So you are kind of working on your chunk of the work that is given to you. But in a startup, it's more like, okay, you have to do everything, right, from marketing to talking to people, and it's you who decide. So basically, whatever suits you in the industry line, these are the two substreams, according to me. And then finally, it's about entrepreneurship. Like you can pick up the freelance projects. It's more like a couple of our batchmates have gone for being an entrepreneur because they were already fed up with the corporate life before MDes, and they wanted to do something on their own. And talking about doing something on your own, there is another thing: you can start your own startup. And I think in Niril's talk, he talked about it, starting his own startup. And IIT gives you a lot of opportunities for doing that. And one such opportunity, I think, I'm not sure, Satyaki sir, is it still there? That SIDB Center, where you can register your startup, you get a space, working space, and so forth.
Absolutely. It's gone big almost like 100 times from what you saw.
Oh, okay.
We are now in the process of setting up a Noida office as well. And so in Noida, there are about, so we have a guest house at Noida. In the same premises, there are these, there's a new building which is coming up, which can host some of these offices in Noida also.
Oh,
And the amount of seed funding also, if I remember when you were there, that was about 8 to 10 lakhs was the seed funding. Now you can go up to 50 lakhs plus. There is a whole bunch of people out there who help you to gather seed funding and stuff. So it's better. It's much better than what it used to be.
Yeah. And also, I was thinking that when we come from a design background, the design is an in thing now. And whenever if you have a great idea and if you have a good team, I don't think so you'll get a problem with getting a funding. You're carrying an IIT badge or brand name, as I said. So yeah, these are some sub channels that or channels or sub channels that your career is gonna look like down the line. But then there is another aspect to it. So like the fourth parameter I forgot. This is basically others, and I remember like in our batch it was kind of I can just say the name Prasoon. So he thought that okay, I'm done with corporate, I'm done with research, I'm done with industry. I have also done, because his thesis was about doing entrepreneurship, making uniforms for all the IIT Karmchari Association. So he was done with all these three things. So he wanted to kind of do something else. He wanted to prepare for IAS, and now he got through. So this is like another stream that you can see. And for me at that point of time, if I talk about myself, there were two streams. I had two plans. So plan A was to go the corporate way, and plan B was to go the PhD way. The reason being that for industry, because for me I was running 1 year late because of Germany. Vivek, Rahul, and Chopra and all, they got placed in Pune. And my idea of like we also went on a on a trip to Goa. Like we went to Pune, I saw their life, and I was like, yeah, I want to end up with you guys only, man. Let's take a apartment, let's chill, and do our job, do bike rides and stuff. So that became my first plan, that I'll take up a job in TCS, of course, when the company comes, and I'll join you guys. I'll join you in Pune. But somehow I got a job in TCS, but it was in Mumbai. So I was traveling, weekend to them, and they used to travel to me. And the plan B was to pursue a PhD in Germany. So as you see in the diagram, but I was clueless about the passion topic, that I talked about. Was I really passionate about it or not? That was still confusion. But I was kind of, always backbeating myself. I could not make to the PhD, and I was just this close to get a scholarship as well. And somehow something happened. I didn't get that scholarship, and then I was kind of thinking, why is this happening to me? And eventually, I realized that I wasn't in love with doing a PhD. Instead, I was love in the idea of doing a PhD. I was in love with idea of going to Germany, and which is like very critical, because you are putting 5 years or 6 years of your life on stake. That when you are deciding these branches like research, industry, or I would say entrepreneurship. So for me, blessing in disguise, it worked out in the right way. And then what happened was, as I said, I got placed in TCS Mumbai. And then for PhD, I said, okay, if it's not working, it's not working. For me, plan A is working, so I don't need a plan B. So this is what the second chapter looked like, and then maybe I can show you about the career when I started my career in TCS. So there are some learnings which I call the unlearnings. The reason being, I'll just show you why. So here are like certain steps. Again, this is my experience. When I started in 2013 February, I started with corporations, like, of course, TCS is a big corporation. So corporate shit and self-development. These were the two things that I wanted to focus on. And why this thing, how it worked is, like, first of all, I realized within 1 month that corporate culture and academia, at least in our country, are two different worlds. Going there and thinking that the assignments or the work you're going to do right from day one that you were working in MDes or in your master's or bachelor's, it's completely unrealistic. It doesn't work that way. So what I thought was I should channelize my more energy on something else. So what I started doing was I started building new habits and also giving up old habits. So as you can see from the image here, like, I just thought, okay, let's stop smoking, let's get into fitness and stuff. And also, again, because now we start earning good amount of money, so for me it became important to be good with money management. So these were the three things that my focus was in 2013. But at the same time, also understanding that how corporation works. It was not just a denial that, okay, it's different. But if it is different, again, remember the open mind. I want to learn how corporations work. So that was the mindset. Down the line, 2014, I tried to switch jobs. The reason, okay, I'll come to the reason in a second, but why I write here switching jobs the right way. The reason is that there could be so many parameters for you to change the job. For me, it was like, okay, I want to definitely earn more. I'll be very honest with you, and I'm not going to lie, at that point of time, the project that I was in, it was Ericsson internal, and we were making applications only for one user, like, boosting the ego of our stakeholders that this is how you're going to look, your application is going to look on smartphones and so forth. And so it was not really a passionate project that I was working on. But at the same time, I realized that I need to grow up monetarily as well. So my suggestion, like, I ended up doing a lot of mistakes as well. I switched up one job just for, like, nearly the same package or nearly the same kind of a role, because I was clueless how corporations work, right? So my suggestion there is, whenever you're making a shift, it should be a very good and a valid reason for switching jobs. For me, it was, of course, monetary, and as I said, passion for work. And then, as I said again, next job should be a big leap in terms of money and responsibilities as well. So, in TCS, I was just, sitting in my cubicle. The work was given to me by my manager. I was do it for 2 weeks and just give it back to her and so forth. But then for me, more was that I want to be a part of an agile team where I'm a designer, I have a developer, I have a tester, and we have a product owner, that kind of a role, because I was spoiled by PD6, that how teamwork looks like. So I wanted that kind of a work environment. So that's why I took this step, and I got an opportunity to join Ericsson, and I had to move from Mumbai to Delhi. So I joined Ericsson in Gurgaon. It's like one of the product development units there in the research organization. And then when I joined Ericsson, I realized, okay, this is a different corporate. This is like a more product-based company. And then you get a lot of time. Of course, you're working on the main work, but you get a lot of time. So I get a good work-life balance, and by that I mean, my good friend Rahul, he was also working in TCS. He moved to Adobe in Delhi, and it's his hometown, and I moved to Ericsson, and we used to meet a lot. And at the same time, we used to visit, like Vikas used to visit us, Praveen also visited us, Prasoon, like, he would be kind of there in Delhi so many times. So one more thing, like, before I proceed here, is also that the people that you are working, or right now you are in batch with, I think for me, it's we have still not forgotten that, those were like the friendships of the lifetime. Last week we had, I think 2 weeks back, we had this WhatsApp call. We ended up talking for 3 hours. We didn't notice that we had so much to talk about. So coming back to this part, it's more like having a good work-life balance. I thought that, let's get into cycling. Let's do, I went for, Everest Base Camp trek and so many other things. Me and Rahul, we just kind of, loitered around daily on the weekends. And at the same time, when you're working from a work perspective, of course work is important, but building professional contacts within the organization, it really helped me a lot. So that was 2015. 2016, like, after 1 year, I kind of became comfortable with my work. I would say comfortable in terms of in the beginning phase. So when we are in any organization, things kind of start flowing. There is this complicated problem, I used to do it, I used to give the presentation, and everything was sorted. So I was kind of performing well, and I started building more smart goals for me. I was more delivery oriented. And here I realized one more thing, like, whatever team or organization that I'm working, like, I was working for Ericsson, I did so good amount of work, like, I tried to strive for good amount of work, that the whole team or the organization kind of depends on me, like, in a good way, that I'm an asset to the team. And once we become an asset to the team, then team understands your value. So that is like, I've used the word dependent, but take it in more like a positive way. So that was what 2016 looked like. In 2017, there was more like a detachment phase. The reason being that, there is a very thin line between having that flow and a mastery state, and then doing that repetitive stuff again and again. And after a point of time, at least I realized that I'm doing that repetitive patterns, the same kind of release every 6 months, and we are giving wireframes to the development team, they are developing it, there are some fights between designers and developers. So it was becoming a periodic trend. So I thought, now I need to detach from these things. Of course, like, my manager gave me an authority that you can tell any developer how they were, what should they do, and I had a good authority on the floor. But then, I was getting comfortable, so I thought that I need to challenge myself again, because this is kind of this is not good for my growth. So then somehow things happened, and 2018, in the beginning, I started 2017 and 2018, I began to wrap up. And I was working with the central team a lot, the central UX team in Stockholm. So the head of design and Ericsson, he was very impressed with my work, and he asked me to kind of, do you want to move to Stockholm? And I said, yeah, why not? I should do that. And my suggestion here was that, like what I've written here, is look for, like, after 3 or 4 years, when you come into this monotony or detachment phase, just start looking for new opportunities. And you need to step up or level up your career every 3-4 years. Like that's what my suggestion would be in corporations. And then so this is how, like, the career 1.0, the unlearning, looked like for me. So what I would do is, before we move to the next one, I'll just show you some pictures of our batchmates and the good time we had. So like here you see Rahul and me, we ran for a half marathon. On the right, on the left side, on the extreme right side, you'll see me, Vivek, and we went for the Goa trip. And bottom center picture, it's also like from Goa. It's Rahul, Vivek, Praveen, and myself. So we used to enjoy a lot. Like all weekends, we used to go out. And then yeah, Rahul introduced me to mountain biking. The top middle picture that you see. So this was a TCS event that we went for, mountain biking in Pune. So this one, and also we made it a point, like whenever, like in the top left picture, you see Prasoon or Vikas, they would visit Delhi. We used to hang out a lot, used to go, out party and stuff. On the top right side, you see we have Rahul and Vikas. We guys went to Lonavala for a trip. That was when I was working in TCS Pune. And then bottom left part, you see this is, I think, Photoshop again done by, I think it's Vikas or Vidisha. So they used to call like PVR, P for Praveen, P for Prasoon, V for Vikas, and R for Rahul. So this is like a picture, like a meme made by her. And then you in the center, you see this was a new design program building in the center bottom. It was the helicopter lab. And then on the extreme right side bottom, you see that, this was what, 2017. After 2017 also, like we were meeting, like hanging out like buddies and so forth. So yeah, this is how the things worked out. And then what happened, as I told you, I got an opportunity to move from Ericsson Gurgaon to Ericsson Stockholm. So this was again a big leap in my career. So I just traveled to Stockholm with 2 bags, not knowing how the world's gonna look like afterwards, and then began the 2018 onward journey, the relearning that I call it. And the relearning, why? Because there are certain aspects to it. So the first aspect was, like, I've just tried to map it year wise. The year I moved in 2018, it was a big cultural shock and settling down phase. Of course, I was in Germany for about 10 months, but there I was as a student, not as kind of a professional. So here I realized, it was a completely different work culture. I remember the first day when I when I came to the office. I saw my manager. He was kind of, sweeping the floor and putting the coffee mugs in the dustbin and so forth. And I said, like, I just asked myself, like, in India, my boss would never do that. It's like somebody else doing it. And this is just one small example. And every day, these kind of things were hitting me, that it's a completely different world. And, everything I have to start here from the scratch. The reason being, in India, I was comfortable. I had my own car. Whenever I would enter a building, there was this, security guard who would salute me, or maybe hello, good morning, sir, and so forth. Here, I was like all by my own. I've left everything there, so I had to start everything from the scratch. Getting to know people from different nationalities. Like right now, I'm working in a team of about 40 designers coming from all across the globe, and like most of them are from Brazil, from Spain, from Argentina, from China, and from Egypt. So it gave me an opportunity to know more about cultures, more about people, and which in turn also pushed me to set up new goals. Like in India, my goals was, okay, my goal was that, okay, I want to buy a car, or I want to maybe go for this trek and so forth. But here now goals became different. My goal became, okay, I want to be more or fit like Swedish people. There is no Swedish person who doesn't have a six-pack act. No, but I'm just exaggerating. But like fitness here is a big thing. So when I started seeing people, okay, this is how they live their life. So my goals also started changing. And also, for me, traveling across Europe like everybody else was a big thing. So I tried in 2018 to travel as much as I can. Then came 2019, and I started getting momentum. And the interesting thing about company like Ericsson, which you guys have not heard of a lot, there is a reason for it, because it's a very developer centric organization. I remember there was a time when I joined Ericsson in 2014. There were 12 designers all across in the workforce of 100,000 people, and now it's still not that much. So people, the definition of a designer in Ericsson, even today, if you ask a person, a designer is a is a Java designer or a C++ designer. So for me, the new goal was to bring the design mindset in the organization. And whenever I used to go in any project, I would evangelize design, and still do that. This is what a designer does: creates, brings up that research perspective on the table from an end user perspective. And also the second thing that started happening was that a very good colleague of mine, he did his PhD from Umio Institute of Design. So he introduced me to IXDA chapter and so forth. So I started building my contacts there, also understanding the big picture of the project. Till now I was focusing on just the design aspect, and I was not understanding the stakeholders perspective, which is like, how much funding are we getting, what is technically feasible or not, how should we launch it to the market, and so forth. So once I came into this design thinking part, okay, design is one part to it, but there are so many other aspects to it. Of course, they are not as important, like not say more important or less important than design, but we have to respect them. So I started getting that big picture understanding in 2019. And then one conversation that happened with my manager, he's French, and he taught me a very interesting thing. It was like I was discussing my career with him. He told me that he always looks for people who have attitude more important than aptitude. And he gave me a very good example that, Nishant, you can be the best designer of the world. You can make amazing designs, but if you don't have the right attitude, you won't succeed. Like, nobody would want to work with you. And at the same time, if you have a very good attitude, and if you don't have an aptitude at all, you cannot even modify a sketch file, or you cannot even talk, then what kind of what would kind of your attitude do to you? So then he gave me a good equation. He said that if a right amount of attitude and a right amount of aptitude will always give you a good altitude, so you will definitely grow, but you have to always be mindful of how do you deal with these things. So this is, like, I think, a learning for me in 2019. And finally 2020, where the whole kind of paradigm changed, the new normal. So here, what I have just listed here, what was going on in my mind, I think this is the slide I made in the morning. So I think the thing that has worked for me in this scenario is like self motivation. It is very important, because we are trapped in these houses, or in our buildings or whatever. So we have to kind of motivate ourselves every morning, and it's one of the challenging work, very challenging work. So I think if you be mindful of motivating yourself, I think that's very important. That's the need of the hour. Creating and sticking to the routines is very important. When we are in IIT, when we are in work, it's okay, we have lectures from 8 to 9, then 9 o'clock we have breakfast and so forth. But in this scenario, everything is missing. So we have to be mindful to be create a routines, and also preparing ourselves for post-COVID times. My reason for showing you these pictures, or motivating you to kind of or showing you the different parts of IIT, was that to kind of prepare you that after after this COVID happens, after when you are coming to the institute, you can remember, okay, this was the MT, this was the DP program, and so forth. And also, the fourth suggestion is socialize virtually as much as possible. I know it's difficult to meet in person, but as I said, even with our old design colleagues, we kind of spend 2 hours, 3 hours over a drink, over the WhatsApp call and so forth. So I would highly recommend doing that, and also taking a good time off and relaxing. I mean, when I was in IIT, I remember, like, weekends we used to kind of chill a little bit. But with this now, and even in it, of course, in corporates, like Saturday, Sundays are off. But now what's happening is working on Saturdays, working till 8 o'clock at night, and starting work at 12 in the afternoon. So this very much segues with the point that I mentioned, the second point, routine. So routine and taking a time off, it's very important. So these are certain things that I wanted to share from Career 2.0, that is the relearning phase. But now we have two options, and I just want to get Satyaki sir, maybe if you can recommend, like, I had two options here. Either we can spend 5 minutes on glimpses of design in Ericsson, or maybe quick run through of my MDes portfolio. So whatever you guys suggest, we can take that route if we have time.
I think glimpse of design in Ericsson would be a nice idea. And what you should do is you should share your design portfolio as well with us.
I'll do that. No worries. So Ericsson, I am not showing you any work which I'm creating because I'm not supposed to, because our organization is very strict. I was telling MJ, we are not even allowed to install Zoom, so I'm running it through my browser because
That's
of
perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine.
So here you see Ericsson.com. So as I said, Ericsson is a very developer-centric organization, and it's what 145 years old organization. And eventually, when I joined Ericsson in 2014, I found out in 2015 there was an initiative, the marketing campaign, and it was about changing the branding of Ericsson, making Ericsson like they call it mega, and it's not an official term, but by mega they mean make Ericsson great again. So the branding team, they started kind of reinventing the wheel and said that okay, let's do something new for our brand, how the world perceives us. People, when you talk about Ericsson, they just say okay, it's Sony Ericsson, because we are not a B2C company, we are a B2B company. The products that I'm creating or we are creating here, we don't sell it to you directly, we sell it to Airtel, we sell it to Vodafone, and then they kind of it empowers them to make these solutions and you become the consumer. So but then we wanted to have that brand image too for our these service providers. So I'll just show you a quick video. It's a 2-minute video of what the marketing team, where like a little bit of our work is also involved. They kind of changed or maybe came up with this campaign, the new brand. We call it the brand 2.0. So I'll just play this video.
Making simple solutions available to the world has been in our DNA for over 140 years. Always evolving to make things better, easier. But meaningful changes start with a purpose. Why do we do what we do? Who do we design for? How do we make customer experiences better, easier, more productive, more inspiring? More than ever, the answer lies in the details. From the ground up, we at Ericsson are rethinking not just the way we look, but how we tell our stories and how our product experiences are connected. We're on a mission to create a visual language from and for our products, where functionality drives aesthetics. An ever-evolving design framework for us and our customers to demystify technology, to make the abstract tangible by simplifying and decluttering. A vibrant language that delights with performance, with little space for ambiguous decoration. A toolkit to develop robust, personal, and meaningful customer experiences. This is our new visual language, and it finds itself at home in every context, physical or digital, structured but never static, organic but consistent, reliable but appealing. A language for our quest for easy.
So this was the marketing campaign for the new brand, and at the same time, this is the group function marketing working there. But we are from a design team. There was a derivative for us as well. We came up with an idea of having a new design system for Ericsson, and I hope I think most of us know what a design system is. If not, I'll just take 2 minutes. Yeah, it's not even 2 minutes. It's 1.21 minutes. This is about Ericsson design system, a sub derivative of the new marketing campaign, which cascaded into our UX team.
We at Ericsson are on a mission to create game-changing technology that is easy to use, adapt, and scale. Introducing the Ericsson Design System, an ever-evolving design framework co-created by more than 25,000 Ericsson engineers and designers across the globe. It will help us offer our customers a best-in-class product experience and a consistent journey across our digital portfolio. With specific focus on the user's needs, the Ericsson Design System offers a responsive, state-of-the-art platform to display complex data streams in an easy way. The iconic data visualization and clear navigation patterns adapt to different work environments and proficiency levels. offering access to comprehensive guidelines, on-demand assets, and ready-to-use code and components. The Ericsson Design System is built to create robust and meaningful customer experiences faster and more efficiently. Ericsson Design System. Global, intuitive, accessible. All in the quest for easy.
Yeah, so this was like, now we are working with this Ericsson design system. That is the bread and butter of the team that we are working on. And at least my project is more like, now I'm leading the digital transformation project within Ericsson. So our idea is to use this design system and make all the external interfaces use EDS, which are like conventional GUIs, which are like even command line interface applications as well. So we are rebranding them completely on EDS. So that's my work. And also, if you want to kind of know more about Ericsson, like you have this portal, or of course you can, write to me as well. What I'll do is I have created one final slide for you guys. So these were the options, and of course, as Satyajit sir said, I'll share my portfolio with you, the PDF version. And yeah, this was the thank you slide. And if you want to get in touch with me, like I'm there on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, just feel free to drop a message, and I would be really happy to help you the best I can. So yeah, that's all I had to present. Like if you guys have any questions, please shoot them.
Thanks, Nishant. It was a nice, refreshing experience, and it's actually very useful. May not have talked about design process and design thinking as such, or whatever, your own works that way. But this part that you covered is also very important. I think, especially for the first year students, some of them call me, talk to me. This has been happening for the last so many years. But the concerns and anxiety remains the same. Where am I going to be 5 years down the line? So I think you've given you've told things in a very simple manner, which is very nice. And I am sure that way students would largely benefit. We do understand your constraints. Mrityunjay had told me about the constraints about talking about your own works because of these issues. In fact, I can see something similar on the questions. If you get the first question from Kumar Varun, I have, of course, a different answer for him, but you can actually respond.
What to do when a project for which you have signed an NDA and you cannot put on Behance, but eagerly want to put a project in for interview and placements? How to specifically project interview for that project? I mean, like the best way is to, at least what I would do in your position would be that I won't share anything over electronically. Of course, I can present it. Of course, if it's in person, you can bring your own laptop and present it. But if you want to make it in Behance, I would strongly recommend for NDA projects, don't do it. I mean, like this will be going against the design ethics. And I think ethics should be very important if you want to be a good professional.
Absolutely. I think the moment you sign an NDA, you have to stand by the word that you give. And finally, see what happens is when when you go against these things, it's not just your reputation, but also the reputation of the institution that you come from. That's absolutely unacceptable as far as IT Kanpur is concerned. My personal opinion is don't work when the companies want you to sign an NDA. So, I mean, at least as long as you're a student, I mean, I keep telling this to the companies also that keep approaching me. See, this is the time Nishant, I mean, this is the time when these kids are, when they spend some time, they want to present their work. And it's not just about any kind of a satisfaction they get by presenting their work. They want feedback from people, And at that point of time, it's bloody treating the students as cheap labor. That's what these industry walas do. Yeah, Nishant agrees.
I totally agree, sir. I totally agree.
So don't get into that trap here, because finally, Yeah, it's okay. There are certain things which very recently we had some issues like that. There was a student who worked during the internship with a company, and now the company clearly says that the person cannot use any of these works. And internship work got extended because of the COVID thing. So this guy is in real soup right now. For almost 6 months that he worked, he cannot present any of these works. So, but anyway, so in the first place, if you are really going to sign an ND or whatever, please do consult your seniors or consult us, consult your faculty members, your thesis supervisors, whomsoever concerned. They would understand it, whether you should or you should not do this. And finally, if you have signed an NDA, then you have to make sure that you do not kind of disclose things.
I mean, like one good Satyaki sir,
You can show it on your laptop. I would recommend not to do that also.
yeah, I mean, like one good thing, Satyaki sir, at least that I have learned in taking your courses is more like I've understood the importance of storytelling, which I also mentioned. So maybe like if even if you have signed an NDA, it's about sharing your experiences. Like you can come back home, make your own sketches, not the exact NDA about the not the work, but you can create a 5 minute talk that how would you explain this project without even revealing the details to the recruiter. So that could be a good exercise for oneself.
Yeah, I remember some student had done that also. So he had signed an NDA with some company and he could not present the work. So he came up with an illustrated comic book, which in some sense talked about what he did. In fact, the company was sitting for the interview. They, of course, were a bit worried. But then finally it had a lot of wit and humor, so he was accepted.
Yeah.
With the promise that we won't do the same for that company.
Okay. Any questions more?
I had a glimpse of Vivek.
Yeah, he was supposed to join today, so
Vivek, just remove your glasses and show me your eyebrows. अरे वो कहाँ गया? You had those rings, na? It's gone?
I got married, sir.
So what?
सब छुट गया.
Oi. Yeah. So he had one of those, 2, 3. And I still remember one of the professors, I don't know who. ये क्या है? What is this? I said नहीं वो कुछ नहीं वो sinus के लिए है काम आता है. So
I remember like first time I saw Vivek sir in IIT Bombay for the interview. मतलब वो अलग ही दिख रहा था बंदा Vivek, and then just at looking at him, I could feel he's all India rank 1. I don't know why. वो attitude carry करके ना एकदम ऐसे और glasses लगा के और piercing and all. I thought भाई all India rank 1 है बंदे.
Yeah. So I think students, I'm sure they would have liked to interact with you, but I know they are right now a bit tensed up because of their first mid-semester examination at IIT Kanpur. I think they're taking it too seriously. Stress मत लो यार लाइफ में. एग्जाम है कहाँ see look at Vivek क्या था क्या हो गया बेचारा. So I don't know where you go actually. अभी एग्जाम्स के लिए कर रहे हो ये कर रहे हो. After 5 years you'll be like Vivek, becoming something like I can't believe Vivek this is you. She. Anyway, good to see you guys again. So when is your talk, Vivek?
This is my first talk. This was really good that this is happening, and I thoroughly enjoyed listening to Nishant's this thing. So I work with Nishant in the same company though, but it's really good to see all of these, and especially looking at it from the freshers' point of view, from the first year's point of view. This is amazing.
No,
Good job.
Great. I had initially thought that this would be, for special topics in design. After discussing with Mrityunjay, now Mrityunjay was actually telling me, let's continue with this. And I totally agree with him. That, I mean, this should become like, no matter there's a course or not, we should continue doing this.
Definitely, sir. And once things are opening up, probably, students are back in the campus. At least personally, I would be really happy to come down and spend a day or two, maybe conduct a workshop if you want. So I'm all in for that.
Most welcome, most welcome. Yeah, so there is a question from Nikhilesh Tripathi. How is design research in Germany different from that of India?
I mean, like, if you ask me, see, the design research, it's like I've seen, a couple of talks, like I was not there online, but like, our juniors and our seniors who are working as well in India. I think research is a thing which all the organizations, they're realizing it. And it's not about being different in a country-wise. Culture can be different, but the companies that do the research, their kind of aspect remains the same. Like OnePlus, I forgot, like, I think there was a talk by OnePlus on OnePlus. So I think the difference would be that the way people or the stakeholders take the research seriously. Like when we talk about user research with our Ericsson Sweden colleagues, or maybe Ericsson Germany or Ericsson Europe colleagues, they listen to it, they understand its value. But when it comes to the same thing in Ericsson China, Ericsson India, stakeholders would say, okay, we don't want to waste time and money. Whatever you want to share, do it in 2 weeks and just let us know. So yeah, I think that is my answer to that.
Right, so, ठीक है Nishant, I think let's call it a day here. And so you're in Stockholm right now.
Yeah.
Do you happen to visit KTH?
I visit KTH. I visited long back. I also met Clara, and if you remember, we have Amanda as well. So I'm in touch with them. So
the department in KTH, the design research group, Carl Michael, I think he's still there. So you should meet him.
definitely.
I mean, this guy has been doing research for years now on, axes. So it's basically he has a huge collection of axes from across the globe. So he's so passionate about it that he was once arrested somewhere in Kazakhstan, where he was actually searching for axes in Afghanistan, and by mistake he stepped into Kazakhstan without him, in search of an axe. Anyway, very interesting guy, and in fact, he has one of his summer cottages, not cottages actually. He owns a bloody island there, somewhere close by. So very interesting guy. Meet him, Carl Michael. In fact, Clara and Amanda, they all worked with him.
Aha. Okay. So he was their professor.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the second name? I know Carl. And
Carl, well, it's Carl, what we know as Michael. It's Carl
okay.
Michael. That's
what I'll do is I'll drop you a mail, like, and you can just kind of, tell me the name, or maybe आप लिख दीजिएगा.
CARL, Carl, MICHEL.
Carl Michael. Okay. Perfect.
Good.
But thanks again, sir. Thanks for this opportunity, and MJ, thanks for organizing. It really is like so good to connect with the, with the institute back again, like all the memories coming up. And as you said, sir, let's continue this. And I'll try to be in most of the upcoming talks. I don't think so. We have something next week.
Yeah, next week we don't have any talks because of Dashera.